start here by thanking Mr. Ted Yoho for his work on H.R. 5484. This is the State Sponsors of Terrorism Review Enhancement Act. And let me share with you why I think this is important. The designation of a foreign government as a state sponsor of terrorism is one of our government's most powerful statements. In addition to imposing sanctions and other restrictions, the designation itself earns a state pariah status internationally. And that's deserved because all of these countries have governments who back the killing of innocents, the killing of innocent people as a matter of policy. Yet under current law, to delist a state sponsor, the administration only needs to certify that the country has refrained from supporting terrorism for a mere 6 months. We shouldn't be giving terrorist regimes a clean bill of health in such a short time. To address this, Mr. Yoho's legislation quadruples the time that a designated country must refrain from sponsoring terrorism before the President can remove that country from the state sponsors of terrorism list. That means from 6 months to 24 months. And it doubles the time that Congress has to review and potentially overturn the President's proposed removal of a country from that list. In other words, it will no longer be 45 days. We will have 90 days to review that here, and that strengthens congressional oversight. And again, I want to thank Representative Yoho for his leadership on this measure, which I urge all members to support. We also consider another bill on this topic, and that is 5208, requiring the State Department to report on the designation of North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. In 2008, North Korea's designation was rescinded following commitments that it made to dismantle its nuclear weapons program. North Korea got its delisting, but kept its nuclear program, as evidenced by its 4th nuclear test earlier this year. Since 2008, not only has North Korea's nuclear weapons program advanced, but so has its support for terrorism. The Kim regime has reportedly continued to supply surface-to-air missiles and explosives to 2 organizations, both Hamas and Hezbollah. It has shelled South Korean civilians on Yeonpoyeon Island, and it has attempted assassinations of North Korean dissidents that live abroad. This legislation requires the State Department to examine these actions and report to Congress on whether North Korea should be relisted as a state sponsor of terrorism. And I want to thank the bill's author, Judge Ted Poe, who has long pressed this issue, as well as the ranking member, for working with our offices on the refined text the committee is taking up today. The flawed delisting of North Korea has also been of particular focus to Chairman Emeritus Ross Leitonen. And finally, we consider H.R. 5332. This is the Women, Peace, and Security Act of 2016. In March, this committee held a hearing where we heard powerful testimony about the importance of including women in peace processes around the world. Simply put, when women are at the negotiating table, peace is more likely. This bill recognizes that it is in our national interest to advance women's participation in preventing and resolving global conflict and requires a government-wide strategy to that effect. In 2011, the administration issued a National Action Plan on Women, Peace, and Security, and has just published an update. And I want to note that the bill before us does not set either plan into law. Rather, the bill identifies the many bipartisan points of consensus around this issue and sets specific goals, specific benchmarks for women's participation, along with oversight from Congress to gauge progress. And I want to thank Ranking Member Engel and the bill's sponsors, Representative Noem and Schakowsky, for their bipartisan leadership, and I want to thank Representative Keating for his good amendment today, which further increases administration accountability. I now recognize the ranking member for his remarks.